Kamala Harris, though, speaking now in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, at a campaign event. Let's go live to that event.
Okay, let's settle down. We got some work to do. We got some work to do. But can we give it up, please, for Chris? Thank you so very much. And all your leadership. And Michaela, I was looking for you. I don't know where you are, but I'm saying hello to you, too, because you are part of the reason I do what I do. Thank you. All right, Harrisburg, are we ready to do this? To vote? Are we ready to win? Yes, you are right. Oh, it is good to be back in Pennsylvania and with so many incredible leaders, including your extraordinary Lieutenant Governor Davis, State Representative Kim, and Mayor Williams. And let's send Bob Casey back to the United States Senate. All right. Okay, so this election is underway, and I want to thank everyone for taking the time out of your busy lives to be here this afternoon, for us to all be under one roof together, sharing this moment of commitment to our country and each other. I thank you all for the time that you are taking for us to all be here together. All right, so now is the time to remind our neighbors and our friends to make a plan to vote in person on Election Day or to return your mail ballot. And Pennsylvania, if you still have a mail ballot, you can take it to a ballot drop box or an election office in your county by 8 p.m. on Election Day. Let's spread the word and ask folks to go to iwillvote.com if they need more information. So I'm visiting with you this afternoon because we need you to vote, Pennsylvania. We need you to vote. Because we have just 6 days left in one of the most consequential elections of our lifetime. And we have work to do. We still have a lot of work to do, but we like hard work. Hard work is good work. Hard work is joyful work. And make no mistake, we will win. We will win. We will win. Part of the reason we will win is because I do believe when you know what you stand for, you know what to fight for. And we know we have an opportunity in this election to turn the page on a decade of Donald Trump trying to keep us divided and afraid of each other. That is who he is. But Pennsylvania, that is not who we are. And I know plenty of folks are just exhausted with it all and know that it is time to stop pointing fingers and to start locking arms. It is time. It is time for a new generation of leadership in America. And And together with you, we will do this, and I am ready to offer that leadership as the next President of the United States of America. And let me just say, Pennsylvania, you know my background. I am not afraid of tough fights. For decades, as a prosecutor and the top law enforcement officer of our biggest state, I won fights against the big banks that were ripping off homeowners, against for-profit colleges that scammed veterans and students, against predators who abused women and children, and cartels that trafficked in guns, drugs, and human beings. And if you give me the chance to fight on your behalf as president, there is nothing that will stand in my way of working for you. And look, we know who Donald Trump is, right? So this is someone who is not thinking about how to make your life better. This is someone who is unstable, obsessed with revenge, consumed with grievance, and out for unchecked power. And look, in less than 90 days, either he or I will be in the Oval Office. Because here's the thing, we know if he is elected on day one, Donald Trump would walk into that office with an enemies list. When I am elected, I will walk in with a to-do list. And at the top of my list is bringing down your cost of living. That will be my focus every single day as president. I will give a middle-class tax cut to 100 million Americans. Enact the first ever federal ban on price gouging on groceries. And fight to make sure that hardworking Americans can actually afford a place to live. If you are caring for an elderly parent, my plan will cover the cost of home care under Medicare. So seniors can get the help they need and the care they need to stay in their own homes. It's about dignity. It's about dignity. Which is why my plan will also lower the cost of child care. Cut taxes for small businesses and lower health care costs, because I believe health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. On the other hand, Donald Trump's answer to financial pressures is for you to face the same deal. Let me say something. We are 6 days out of an election. We are 6 days away from an election. And ours is about a fight for democracy and your right to be heard. That is what is on line in this election. Look, everybody has a right to be heard, but right now I am speaking. And one of the biggest issues that folks around the country want to talk about and hear is about how we are going to bring down the price of living for working people. And people know that Donald Trump's answer to the financial pressures that you face is the same as the last time, another $1 trillion tax cut for billionaires and big corporations. And this time, he will pay for it with a 20% national sales tax on everything you buy that is imported. Clothes, food, toys, cell phones. And a Trump sales tax would cost the average family nearly $4,000 more a year. These are some of the issues that are on the line in the next 6 days, and that's why we are here saying we will not stand for it. We stand for working people. We stand for middle class growth and strength. We are here together because we know what's on the line. We know that Donald Trump will try, like he has so many times, to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, which would throw millions of Americans off of their health care and take us back to when insurance companies could deny people with pre-existing conditions. You remember what that was? Well, we are not going back. We are not going back. We're not going back. And we are not going back because ours is a fight for the future, and it is a fight for freedom, like the fundamental freedom of a woman to be able to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. And we remember how we got here. Donald Trump, when he was president, hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would do just as they did and overturn the protections of Roe v. Wade. And now in America, 1 in 3 women in America lives in a state with a Trump abortion ban, many with no exceptions even for rape and incest, which is immoral. Immoral. And look, Donald Trump's not done. He would ban abortion nationwide, yes, even here in Pennsylvania if he were successful. He would restrict access to birth control, put IVF treatments at risk, and force states to monitor women's pregnancies. Just Google Project 2025, read the plans for yourself, and let us agree. One does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree the government shouldn't be telling people what to do. Not the government. Not the government. If she chooses, she will talk with her priest, her pastor, her rabbi, her imam, but not the government or Donald Trump telling people what to do. And I pledge to you, when Congress passes a bill to restore reproductive freedom, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. Proudly sign it into law. So, Pennsylvania, I am asking for your vote. My pledge to you, and here is my pledge to you. As your president, I pledge to seek common ground and common sense solutions to the challenges you face.
Look, I'll repeat it. We are fighting for a democracy. We love our democracy. It can be complicated at times, but it is the best system in the world.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. All right. So look, I will continue with my point. I pledge to you that as President of the United States, I will not be looking to score political points. I will be looking to make progress. And I pledge to listen to experts, to those who will be impacted by the decisions I make, and to the people who disagree with me. And at this particular moment, it should be emphasized that unlike Donald Trump, I don't believe people who disagree with me are the enemy from within. Jail. I'll give them a seat at the table. And I pledge to be a president for all Americans and to always put country above party and self. Look, it all comes down to this. We are all here together, and you have taken so much time out of your life to be here because we love our country. We love our country. And when you love something, you fight for it. And I do believe it is one of the highest forms of patriotism, an expression of our love of our country, to then fight for its ideals, to fight for the ideals of our country, and to fight for the promise of America. That's what this is about. I have always believed in our nation's promise because I have lived it. I grew up a child of the civil rights movement. My parents would take me to marches when I was in a stroller, where people from all walks of life, all kinds of backgrounds, came together to fight for the ideals of our country, the ideals of freedom and opportunity. I've lived the promise of America. I saw how hard my mother worked to give her daughters the same chances our country gave her. Growing up, I was blessed to have family by blood and family by love. Who instilled in me, like all of us, who instilled in me the values that have always defined our nation at its best, like the value of community, of compassion, and faith. I've lived the promise of America. I've spent my life fighting for people who have been hurt and counted out. but who never stop believing that in our country anything is possible. I've lived the promise of America, and I see the promise of America in this beautiful assembly of people, of you, who understand what is at stake and also what we have yet to do. That's what this is about. This is about our joy and our optimism, about what has yet to be done that we can do together as one community of people who love their country. And I see then the promise of America in, for example, the women who refuse to accept a future without reproductive freedom. I see it in the men who support them. I see it in Republicans who have never voted for a Democrat before, but put the Constitution of the United States before party. I see the promise of America in all the young leaders who I know are here right now voting for the first time.
You have been listening there to Vice President Kamala Harris out there on the campaign trail in Harrisburg in the must-win state of Pennsylvania, just 6 days out from Election Day now. Quick fact check before we go to Selena Wang there at the White House. She talked about what she has labeled the Trump sales tax. That's not a policy position the Trump campaign has put forward. That's branding from the Harris campaign. What she's referring to is that the proposed tariffs by former President Donald Trump, in Harris's estimation, would trickle down to consumers and therefore raise the cost of goods purchased, goods shipped into the United States from overseas. That's what she's labeled the Trump sales tax. One more thing. She said that Donald Trump and Republicans want to appeal the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, that tens of millions of Americans have used to get insurance. In fact, as recently as today, House Speaker Mike Johnson has said he wants to reform, is the word he so often used, of Obamacare, reform it. But we haven't heard plans from House Republicans to, or congressional Republicans writ large, to repeal Obamacare. That said, it was certainly a priority of Donald Trump's in his first term, and if Donald Trump wanted to do it again, and he captured both the House and the Senate as well with Republicans, he could certainly order them to do that. That's what the Harris campaign is saying in a version of it. But I do want to bring in Selena Wang there at the White House for us, because Selena, you weren't just watching along at that rally with me, you were also at Kamala Harris's closing arguments last night on the ellipse in view of the White House. Comments that have now been stepped on in a way in the news cycle by something that President Biden said. Exactly what have we seen over the course of the day about the confliction between Harris trying to give that closing argument and what President Biden said on that call with Latino supporters last night?
Yeah, exactly, Jay. I was there last night at the ellipse. The campaign says there were some 75,000 people there. This was a major moment for the campaign, probably the last major moment we're going to get like that, where she was at the exact same place where Donald Trump had spoken to protesters before they stormed the Capitol on January 6th. She had that visual of the White House behind her, so she could really vividly paint this picture for Americans about what the future could look like under her versus Donald Trump. Now, look, President Biden, he made those comments, then he went over and clarified them. You have the White House also rushing in to clarify and go into cleanup mode. The White House today emphasizing that the president was not referring to Donald Trump's supporters as garbage, but calling the rhetoric that was used to describe Puerto Ricans, to describe Latinos as deplorable, and that's what he was referring to when he said garbage. But of course, this has somewhat overshadowed that speech of unity that Vice President Harris gave last night, and the timing certainly was not ideal for the campaign. But I can tell you, I've been talking to sources today that are close to the campaign, that are part of the campaign, and I'm hearing frustration and dismissiveness. They're saying that Republicans are seizing on what President Biden said. They're taking it out of context. They're using it as a way to distract from what's really at stake in this election. And Jay, before we move on to the next point, I do want to go back to your point about the fact checking on the Trump sales tax. This is something that Harris has repeated over and over again, but economists widely do agree that tariffs are passed on to consumers. They raise raise the prices of goods. So economists broadly do not agree with Trump's plan around tariffs.
And Selena, I want to quickly go to you here as Harris wraps up that rally in Pennsylvania. Of what is her next stop here? We know Wisconsin is next for her, and you are learning some new details about her ground game there. Is that right?
Yeah, Wisconsin is a critical battleground state, part of that blue wall. And I caught up earlier today with the Wisconsin State Democratic Party chair, who was just talking about the army of canvassers and volunteer staff members that they have continuing to knock on doors. He told me that for the second week in a row, they've reached more than 1 million voters. The key here is that he says they want to leave no stone unturned. He described these undecided voters as needles in the haystack, Jay, but he insists that they do exist and that the canvassers are keeping track of them and the issues that they care about. And he said what they're finding is that the #1 issues that are motivating Trump supporters to consider Harris or even support her is the issue of abortion, that this is personal to so many people and families. And he says it's not just women and suburban women who are motivated by this, but he says that some men are mentioning this as a top issue as well.
Selena Wang for us at the White House. Selena, thank you as always.